live.
Yahoo! Here we are.
Here we are. Good morning, everyone. It's Kate Richburg.
And Emily Miller joining you.
Live at beadshop.com. Cheers. Happy Wednesday, Emily.
Absolutely. A little gray and foggy out today, but
we're getting there.
we'll take it.
We'll take it. Well, there we are. Look, we're live.
Yeah, good day for outdoor photography today.
That's right. There we go.
Take your jewelry outside on a cloudy, bright day. It's a great day to take pictures.
I do have the Frances McDormand flyaway here.
Do you?
On my...
Oh,
do you notice on the Golden Globes?
No.
The one thing I noticed about Frances McDormand...
She had some hair.
She had a flyaway hair. And I was like... Didn't anyone notice?
Didn't anyone help that poor thing?
Right. So I had to check, but I think my flyaway is fixed.
I didn't see it.
Is it fixed?
I don't see it,
no,
so
well,
it's gone.
because I fixed it already.
Well,
I'm
perfect.
all set. Fast.
Yeah.
Fast on that flyaway.
That's Richburg all over the place.
All over it. All right, you guys. Well, welcome. Welcome to our Facebook Live broadcast. We're super excited to share this new color study with you. And just to let you know, you guys, if you are jumping in to watch this after the live, you can fast forward your little minute marker about 15 minutes, and that's when the instruction is going to jump in.
Yep.
So you can always watch this later on our Facebook Live page, right here, our YouTube channel, or over on our website at beadshop.com.
Although, you know, if you watch on the YouTube, you don't get to see all the weird and funny comments.
It is true.
Because we actually spend our lunch after this reading all of your comments.
That's right, and answering some of them and all that good stuff. So, yes, our YouTube channel does not have the comment feed. So if you do want the comments in all their glory, you can watch it on our Facebook
They're
Live
kind of
page.
fun, I think,
They
actually.
are fun. It's a nice community.
Yeah, well, we don't always get to see what's going on right on the moment. So kind of going back over it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's always good. And so today, usually, in the audience, we usually have Drea watching.
Or Janice.
And
Or
Janice
both.
and or watching. But both of them, Janice is off today. She is...
Being a grandma.
Yeah, being a grandma today.
Yeah.
And Drea is on a well-earned vacation. So Emily's going to be doing some moderating.
Absolutely.
Right here from her computer. And of course, Brandwin is behind the camera. So we will... we're going to do our best to get to all of your questions. So this broadcast may have a few more out loud questions than normal. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. That's right. Let me just see what we've got going on.
Oh, you're doing a little Google translating?
And we will we'll jump in.
Yeah.
So
I got to change glasses
you've
because
got
I
to change
really
glasses.
can't see my computer
Great.
screen without them.
Well, Emily, people had
Yep.
a really great
Thank you, Gita.
a really great I was going to say heart on my sleeve.
I
Talk
know.
a little bit about
there's been a really
about your joy
There's
with
been
that.
a really nice outpouring of heart on my sleeve projects,
Yeah.
and I really like that everybody's kind of taken it to heart. No, taken it literally taken it and run with it, and made some beautiful things. I am bad with names, but I remember there's some little drops hanging down from hearts. There's some rag heart that we really like.
Suzanne did a beautiful
There's another
job
one with
on her heart,
fringe
didn't
hanging
she?
from the heart, which I just adore. And I love that you're jumping in and using what you've got. Ooh, the one with a double row of bugles, 2 rows of bugles in it. Really
Wasn't that
good.
great?
Yeah. And, you know, brick stitch
So
is
good.
really a good stitch to play around with. I've got a little addendum to the brick stitch heart that'll come in the next week or so, and I'll give it to you for Facebook Friday. So you can play around with it, because I came up with something while we were filming last time, and I almost said it out loud, but I had to continue on with what I was doing so I could finish. But I had to make mental notes, and it's so hard. I often find myself with a great idea in the midst of another idea.
Right, and then you're like, wait, I'm gonna...
Wait, I gotta write that down.
Wait.
I'm a big believer in notebooks. I've always got one with me. Mine is off camera, but it's right there with my pen on it. I like a 4-color pen as well, so that helps me make different colored notes and draw lines and stitches.
You do like your 4-color pen is sitting right there.
My 4-color pen
and
is
you
sitting
always
right
have that little notebook with you. I think it would be really fun one day to share our...
I'll just give you a quick flash so you can't see what I wrote.
That's right.
4-color pen.
4-color pen.
Oh, this is only a 3-color one, but
Well,
you know, whenever I go to the dollar store or the Japanese dollar store or any kind of stationery store, which don't really exist so much anymore, but
right.
I try and look for those. They're nice because you can switch colors to make points and draw lines that are supposed to be a different thread or something like that. So
yeah,
I really do like
I think
all those.
it's you know, you gave me
Did I give you one?
not the pen, but my my notebook.
Oh,
You know. You know I have that notebook that I love.
Well,
that I got from you.
I like a notebook, and I've probably got more blank ones at home waiting to be filled up. But
There we go.
I've always got a little one in my purse. I've got a bigger one in my computer bag. I don't know that I'm ever going to make the digital switch. You know?
Well, I like having a drawing book to, you know, just record all of those ideas. Because, as you know, I get a lot of my good ideas in the shower. But I also get a lot of my good ideas, you know, just kind of in the middle of the night and stuff. Right? So it's always good to have
I
just
have
a
heard
little...
that you can use whiteboard markers on tiles in
I
the
do
shower.
that. I whiteboard marker my mirror.
Yeah.
I got that from my friend Mary.
Yeah.
She writes on a whiteboard marker.
Things
so
she wants to remember.
like, you know, don't let me forget to, I don't know, put my computer in my bag or whatever.
Right.
I'm just making sure I can see all these comments. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I love it.
Just
I think we're going to
double-checking.
put a run on 3 and 4 color pens out there.
That's right.
Right?
3 and 4 color pens. We love it.
And I know you like a fine pen, but I tend to like a bigger point on my pens.
I do.
I can go either way.
like the finest. I like a .03. Super fine.
Yeah, and I like your Le Pens as well.
I like a Le Pen.
Yeah.
Le Pen.
Le Pen.
That's my favorite.
I found one that's permanent and indelible ink. That's a Le Pen. It's a little bit bigger though.
Oh.
It's a little different version than yours.
I like the sounds of
Yeah.
that.
I'll have to find a second one for you.
That's so awesome.
So we have lovely comments. Sounds like people are having lots of snow days, which is really exciting because you get to stay home, and kind of a bummer because you get to stay home. But it looks like it's going to be, the East Coast is going to get hit pretty good in the next few days, or if you haven't already gotten snow. It looks, Texas got some snow. I saw in the news the other night, and people were, Texas? Wait a minute, it's not supposed to be snow.
I know, right?
No snow. You know, we're lucky to have the most mellow of all weathers, except when it's not here in California, in Northern California. So,
well, we are supposed to thank goodness for the rain, because we don't want to go back to that drought.
No, and I know that our Southern California residents are saying, "Stop with the rain, enough already."
Right.
Not all at once.
No, it's really super crazy.
Pray for rain. Stop praying.
Right.
So,
well, so great. I've got my comments to work. So sorry, you guys. I was just checking that. And of course, as always, Janice, we miss your fine comments on the other side of the camera. But Emily,
yep, I'm going to go right into it.
Are going to go right into it. So great. Well, let me talk to you a little bit about some of the ideas behind this color study. So, so you guys know a little bit of the history. So, color study was a project that Janice came up with. It was a wrap bracelet, color study wrap bracelet, that she came up with, I don't know, last year, maybe it's been 2 years. I don't know. It's been a while before I came back to beadshop.com. And I really found it enchanting. And we have some of her latest, or her, not her latest, her oldest ones earliest ones, and she has a great handout for color study, you guys, and you can find it on our website on beadshop.com.
I'll quick go get
if
a link.
you go, Emily's gonna let's see if she beats Gita at getting a link.
I don't think I will.
But if you go to our projects page on beadshop.com and you click on projects, you'll see color study, and you'll see a whole bunch of different projects that are up there. So you can jump in, read Janice's handout, which is great, and you'll learn a lot about her thoughts about the process for it. So I was so stoked about the color study, and I'll pull these down once we move the camera so we can talk about it a little bit and about what we used. But I was so stoked about the color study that I was inspired to make my own. Now, Janice took her inspiration from a lot of different places for these color studies, but I took my inspiration from my very favorite painting at SF MoMA. That's the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, to those of you who are not in the know with that. But our SF MoMA, which is very near and dear to my heart, has this painting on view. It's in their permanent collection, and it's called The Bridge by Joseph Stella. Now, this painting was painted in 1936 by the Italian-American artist Joseph Stella, and he lived in New York City, had immigrated to New York City from Italy, and he was very enamored with the architecture of Manhattan. And so do you know what this is? Do you know? It's called The Bridge. But
I was going to say it's the Brooklyn Bridge.
It is the Brooklyn Bridge. That is exactly right. The Brooklyn Bridge. This was his
and I didn't know that beforehand. That was totally
yeah,
cold.
Was it totally new?
Yeah.
Totally new?
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And I just love it. In person, I printed this out on my printer, so the colors are But in person, it's vibrant, it's great. I love this painting so much. So I used that as my inspiration for this color study. And after we move the camera so you guys can see my sample up close, we'll talk a little bit about the elements and stuff that I pulled from it. So so that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So
I like it.
Let's get into our...
I'm trying to find the color study, and I'm not having any luck.
Scroll all the way to the top, Em. It's usually at the top left hand. There we go. Color study wrap bracelet. Look at her navigate that website.
Not very well.
Awesome.
But
let's move it, Brand, and let's...
Thanks, Gita.
Gita's all...
Gita's like, got it.
Emily, please.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move this down, and we'll get this going.
All right, I'm amazed we have somebody watching from Athens, Greece.
Well, welcome.
Yep.
Yes.
And all over the place.
Yeah,
Dallas.
all over. That's great. Sorry, I'm moving that there. Looks good.
Croatia.
Oh, well, great. Well, welcome, everybody. It's great to have you all. You can also find, just an FYI, you'll be able to find after the broadcast on our Facebook Live page, we do episode notes. So Janice will be working on those this week. So a lot of the cool info and stuff will be on those episode notes as well. So
it's nice because she does go into a goodly amount of detail. Mm-hmm. It's not everything you get from the show, but it is the companion to it.
Exactly.
And I really like that. Mm-hmm. Janice and now Drea are just doing amazing check-ins, and they really put so much into those episode notes.
And they're like, as I always like to say, they're the cliff notes of, the cliff notes of beads. Right. So, it works out really well. Yeah. So, I love the one that Drea just did for heart on your sleeves, heart on my sleeve, heart on the sleeve, sleeve hearts.
On my sleeve.
Because she included, your graph that you did, all that cool stuff. So it was really, really good. So don't forget about the episode notes, you guys. Okay, so let's jump into this project. I have a nice list of what we used for this. And then I have an alternate color palette that I wanted to share with you as well. But let's look. Let me go up here.
We can't really get enough of color palettes. And
no.
In fact, it's hard to rein us in. Janice calls these lots of moving parts projects.
We do.
And it's true. There's a lot of moving parts in some of these pieces. It's really something that's kind of hard for us to to rein back sometimes our
Sometimes,
inspiration.
yeah, sometimes it is. So once in a while, you have to bear with us if we have a misstep on what we list. But I'll tell you what, this one, I think it's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this guy, you're going to see this upcoming. I did this deco wrap also on an upcoming episode of Beads, Baubles, and Jewels.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, this
I'm
is
so jelly you guys got to go do that.
The new season is going to air soon, so you'll see this on the Beads, Baubles, and Jewels as well. So let me lay this out. If you can see a full, what we call our project maps. So if you are on our beadshop.com page and you go under projects, you'll see this project listed as Color Study Wrap Bracelet. If you click on our on the Color Study, the project will come up and you have a bird's eye view. What Karen does is she creates what we call a project map for it. And the project map is really super helpful. Yeah, it's right there. If you click on Deco Wrap and then you scroll down. Oh, well, Karen has to add the project map. Oh, go to the project. Is it on there?
I went to project. It wasn't there.
Huh. All right.
That's
well,
where I went first.
Go to project there. Well,
that link may be cycling the wrong place.
Yeah. So let Karen.
I'll let Karen know.
No, but you'll be able to see the Color Study bird's eye view of that project map, and I think that also helps you to kind of visualize the entire piece.
You know, I do like it because it gives you the start and the end, and it sort of makes sense with a wrap bracelet like this. You really don't know where you started or began or finished.
Right.
But from the functional doing the work part, you need to know which end we started with.
Right.
So.
And I think it just kind of gives you a good, I don't know, a path.
Right. Absolutely. And getting yourself kind of laid out. You know, one of the things that I've always liked about these multiple wrap bracelets is how much thought you guys have put into making it so that when you wrap it, you're seeing different pieces as it comes around. I've only done a couple of wrap bracelets myself, and I tend to do kind of the same thing over and over again, like your shadows one.
Right, I
just
know.
Because you get in the groove, and it's like, oh, this feels
really,
so good.
It just works.
I just want to go. But I do like the planning that went into this and how each wrap looks a little bit different.
Yeah. And this one especially, the one that there we go. I lost our live feed. Hang on. Where am I going? Who are you?
I'll come back. Here you are.
Who are you? Where am I? Our live feed is still going, but I've lost our page. The way that I did this and the way that Janice did this one here, this color study was one that she did earlier, and that one, I'll tell you what that one was called in just a second. Let me go to our projects. This was the one that kind of revamped
Garden Path.
Garden Path. That's right, Garden Path. And
I got there first.
Yeah, you did. Garden Path, and then this one is a brand new one that's not even up yet. That will be up soon. This was kind of what do I want to say, a companion piece to Garden Path. We're also teaching this, Janice and I, at the Bead and Button
Bead
show.
and Button. Oh,
so
excellent.
that's what this sample was from, is for Bead and Button. It's a special one for Bead and Button. But so, inspired by Janice's Garden Path, and we did a Facebook Live on this a while back, and what she did was she just meandered down the garden path, really. And so she just kind of strung like she wanted to string, right? Which I thought was pretty cool. I loved the way that she just kind of took out her color palette, took out her beads, and just started stringing. And this is the beginning.
I have to ask, Frippery, are you also Angela? Angela, that's
Angela.
what it is. Angela was pointing out about the button. And I can't give you my wink because I'm not on screen right now, but there'll be more about those buttons later.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about the button.
Yes.
I will. Why can't I get this feed in, Emily?
I don't know. Are you on the right?
Maybe I am. I'm having the same trouble that you guys have sometimes when you can't find our...
We have been getting
frustrating.
some low network
Signals.
Have we
so
issues?
it might be,
That's okay.
What's going on with
there
the,
we go.
the weather.
I found it there. So, perfect. Alrighty. I found it. I gotcha. I gotcha. So, let me show you the tools and materials that we used for this. Okay? So, I'm going to leave Joseph Stella up right here for the moment.
Invisible.
And so the elements, when I had this color palette, when I was starting to put this palette together, the first bead, and I don't know if you guys, Brandon, can you just make sure that we can see like all of the beads over here?
Sorry.
We're close up on the thing, so now we can.
Let's,
No, and I just lost mine.
well,
As long as I got it, we're good.
as long as you got the
As long as
bead.
Brandon's is
Right,
alive,
there we
we're
go.
good.
Okay,
All right.
perfect.
I trust you, Brandon.
So
We're in your hands.
the first bead that I got from this color palette, or from using the inspiration of this color palette, which one do you think was my first one, Em? What do you reckon?
I don't really know, but I know I was really inspired by these.
Right.
And to me, they're kind of the structures of this. And I know that you used a fair amount of metal
I did.
in this particular
did.
one. And I like the metal seed beads a bunch. I think
I
they're
do.
really cool.
This is that hematite cube, but actually, Emily, you don't win the prize.
Dang it.
That was not my first
Second
one.
guess?
Right. No.
This one.
No.
What?
No, come on, you guys out there. Which one was my first one? You guys know. Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what it is.
That one.
No. Ding, ding, not right.
Well, I was on the right track with the metal.
Well, you figure you'd get to a bead eventually.
That was my
you'd
second
get to
choice.
it.
No, it was my
It was your
third
fourth choice.
Oh, whatever.
So these
Who's counting?
bugles right here, these are the matte nickel plate bugles. I pulled these first. Number one, because I saw some ladder bracelets using these longer, or using bugle beads.
Right.
And I thought, wouldn't it be cool, to do some laddering with the bugles? And I also, in this painting, you can see the lines of the bridge, the support lines, suspension lines of that. So the bugles, to me, kind of mirrored that. So that's what I used. And then what I went to next was I went to that fantastic Tyla bead. And it's this one here.
Oh.
Now, we have two Tylas listed for this one, and they're both so close. And sometimes when we run out of one, we like to give you a second choice. So this original one that's listed in your project, it's the metal blue-green, the matte metallic blue-green. That's this guy here. But we also added this matte metallic green iris, which was also really close to that. I'm going to pull these out of there, and you guys can see this. And I think that both of these work equally as well. And you can see that this one, this green iris, matte metallic green iris, if I put it right here on the painting, you can see how it really does pick up all of kind of that blue-green from the painting. I really love it. I'm going to pull a few more bugles there. Then they're going to roll all over, but let them roll. As we all know, the beads, their natural habitat is the floor, right? We know. So then next, I felt like we needed some light in there, that both of these were super metallic. Both of these kind of had similar shades to them.
Maybe values, tones.
Yeah, tones. So I wanted to, let me put a few there. So I wanted to kind of jump in and put in something that was a little lighter. So I grabbed this matte opaque antique beige bead. And we've used this. We use this in the laddered stacks, this one. And Janice used it liberally in this garden path. And I'll tell you, I know that you guys know how much I love little shadows, how that's like my favorite bead
What?
in the whole wide world. But I so dig this matte beige. What do we call it? Yeah, matte opaque antique beige. I so dig that bead. I love it because it's matte, and I don't know, it just feels, it almost looks like a stone, like a tumbled stone.
You're
to
right.
me.
It does look like kind of like something from the beach.
Yeah.
Maybe it crosses over with sort of sand, shell, stone kind of combos. So I do have a question, and this I hadn't really thought about this before, but one of the viewers is looking at it. Christine Whitney is asking about nickel sensitivity and the nickel plated. I don't think that that's an issue.
Well, I think that this is nickel plate. I think it means the color, not the metal.
Ah,
I
okay.
think that's what they're referring to. So I think that you should not, it's not a nickel plate as in metal.
Nickel metal.
Right.
Right.
But
It looks like it.
It does. It has a beautiful metallic color to it. But
I also
you should
find
be fine.
that some of the metallics, the matte metallics, will change a little bit over time with wear.
They will. They will.
They
and
pick up a little skin
oil. Yeah, and you can see, and I did want to point that out. In my wrap, you can see there, this is one that I've finished and worn. You can see how the color, because it kind of, I don't know, interacts with the oils on your skin and stuff like that, it does change up a bit, but not in a bad way.
Right.
But it does change it up a little bit. And you know, that's just how sometimes how these glass beads are with these coatings. So then what I did was, Emily, I did indeed come in with these, finally, these hematite cut cubes. And I used these, it was a fairly new bead. I've had this bracelet going for quite some time. So it was a fairly new bead to us. So I really wanted to use it. And so I used it in both the matte and the, both in matte, but in the gold and in the silver.
Because
I
look
to
like
use them
a
both. Shadow. They do. They look like a shadow. It is so true.
They do have a nice big hole. They're a little bit less coarse than the smallest shadows, which tend to be kind of the most irregular that I see of the shadows.
And I think, yeah, they give kind of a nice sleek look to it.
A little bit of I was going to say a mosaic kind of feel
kind
to
of
it.
feel.
Yeah.
And you can see I use them in two places on this project. I use them, this is where we got that, our laddered stacks. We took that laddered stacks right out of this section that I did for this color study. And then I just used them singly because I wanted a really skinny, slim strand to wrap. So that's how I used those. Then, of course, I felt like I needed just one more little metal because I was going to do some laddering with the bugles. And I thought, well, what better than to use this gilding matte seed bead? So you can see I used some of those guys there. And I thought it was a good, it added another touch of metallic, but it was the right size. And I loved it.
Yeah, and that gilding matte, I know that's one of your faves. It's one of those, it's a little bit like the brass shadow in that it kind of crosses over in a few different cools and warms. I mean, I would consider much of this palette to be kind of on the cool side with the blues and the grays. And then when you warm it up with that brass, this to me really brings those kind of together.
Right, two together.
Yeah.
Builds the bridge.
Right. And we're talking about a bridge.
A bridge, indeed.
Right.
Right. So then, of course, I used the big shadows, and you can see for my transitions. And for those of you who have done wrap bracelets or who are thinking about doing wrap bracelets and have looked at the patterns, you can use in this transition, here's a transition from this bugle section to the macrame section. I chose the little shadow, or I'm sorry, the big shadow because I liked the way it looked. But you can use just about anything, whatever works for you. You can silk wrap. You can use we have a bead called transitions that we use. You can macrame. You can do a whole bunch of things. With that. So you can make your choices there, however you want to do it. But I dug the big shadow. And then the other thing I did want to mention about this piece was the button. When I started making this piece, I make a lot of buttons on my own out of coins, which I love. So of course, when I make a sample, I usually try and use some bead shop elements, but I really thought that this one was just going to be for me. But then we loved it so much that we're like, oh, let's do this as a project. Well, you know what? I was like, I'm not changing this button out. Sorry, I'm not going back. So this one has a button that I made out of a coin. It's a Mexico coin. It's the La Ley, or the one for luck, and it was made in 1950. So I make a lot of these cool, fun coin buttons that I use on a lot of my pieces. But we thought, any of our buttons would look great on this project.
Absolutely.
So we chose the Bali, which we thought looked terrific with it. So, you choose. Whatever works for you works for us.
I have a quick question for you as a more experienced ladderer. Cindy Linden says she did a bugle ladder, and her bugles are laying on top of one another and kind of rippling up.
Well,
I suggested maybe that was a little bit too much tight or too close.
And we're actually going to move to examining at each of these.
Good.
So I'll address each of the issues. Because each of these, of course, I can't ever do anything that's easy or simple. So each of these sections poses its own special challenge.
Right. So each of these has a learning
It has a little bit of a learning curve, which I'm going to share with you. But I also wanted to show, let's pull this one.
We did get a quick request to see the back side of your button.
The back side of the button? There it is. I just soldered a little shank right onto
We'll
it.
do a little quick...
Just a little soldered shank.
People can see.
Yeah, it's good times. I love the metal. I can't help it. So Emily and I threw together another, let me turn it over this way because it's this way, another deco inspired palette this morning, because maybe some of you may not.
Can I pull some of that out? No?
Sure. Do you want to? I don't know. I was going to maybe compare and contrast them.
Okay.
Maybe.
Never mind.
So we did kind of a cool another take on a deco palette, and so we pulled this guy. Emily kind of Googled. She Googled Art Deco palettes, and we kind of came up with this one, which we loved. And this also has kind of a deco feel to it, with a liberal use of black. This kind of funky purple color, which I have written down here.
410 FR.
I have it here. Where's my little... Oh, you know what? I printed it out, but I didn't bring it over here. Yes, it's the 110, or it's the 11-aught 410 FR. I really love that purple color. We have, of course, the Picasso Sea Foam Green matte tile. We've got the antique zinc. We've got the matte black bugle. And what I chose for this, and you can use shadows as well, but I thought that this hematite cube in the silver and in the matte copper both looked great.
Didn't print.
Oh, it's okay. I've got it up here on my thing. And then for our Ceylon, we thought that we would continue with the lavender color study and use the lavender Ceylon with this metallic purple and then the dark purple KO here. And if you go onto the blog, the bead table, it's all listed right there.
You're so fast this morning.
So you can see it. I was fast without Drea, man.
Kate
and without
walked
Janice.
in here and hit the bricks
I
running.
did. I was slash and burn this morning. I'm like, let's hop to it, gang. Let's get it going. But but it was a fun palette to put together. And so we used also all of this copper. We decided that the copper chain might look cool together.
Oh, I think so.
It's another good, it's another kind of fun way to achieve kind of an interesting kind of deco-inspired palette. You know, I always think of Art Deco. When I think of Art Deco, I always think black, a matte black or a real deep opaque black, and another color like this purple or a pink or even this bone. You know, to me that speaks kind of deco-y as well. Maybe it's a little more deco going into the 30s, but I dig it for sure. So, all right, let's move this over,
Sure.
and let's get those boards.
The sampler one?
Yeah, what I
right.
want to show is, let's look at how this piece fits. And of course, you guys, you can find all of this product on our website at beadshop.com. You can find it on the project page, and you can also find it on right on our Facebook Live page as well. So these were the sample boards that I did from Beads, Baubles, and Jewels. Where do you need me to go, Bran? About here? And so these were the ones that I shared live on the show. But I wanted to, so the first section I made, and just like Janice did when she was jumping into her color study, the Garden Path color study, I just jumped in. I pulled my beads, did my bead palette, and then I thought, well, let me just jump in. And so what Janice always says at the beginning of your color study is that we need to graduate up to, you know, give it some air, graduate up to the sizes of the beads that you're going to use. So that's why I started with this 11/0 here. And where's my awl? This 11/0. And what I did was I just started to graduate it up, and I could see that I needed the 4 11/0s here, and it would be the same size as that bugle. Now you can see I'm having a little bit of push-up here. Can you see that? What I might have done, and what Janice tells us to do, and what I did right up here in this section, was I reinforced this and went back a couple of times, reinforced.
In the first group?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In this first row right here. So it was really secure. And all of these little 4 beads kind of bouncing around here, I think had I gone back through maybe one more time, it might have made it a little more secure. Okay? Because this bugle, and I think, Cindy, one of the issues that you might have is this bugle is just one long tube, so it's not it's not flexible.
It doesn't have any room to wiggle at all.
Any movement.
Right.
So what I also did, and what I had you do, grab those we'll grab the beads from this, and I need the head pins.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, thank you, and this, and I'll take these, and where, oh, my bugles are right here. One of the things that I did here with this, and Brandon, let's get this the shot a little bit bigger if we can. I lined up, because I had a lot of different beads and elements going on. So I have these, my bugles, and I've just got some head pins here. And I can line up my little head pins. Let me actually put them, I'm going to put this to the side. I'm going to have you hang on to that for just a second. I can line up my little head pins here, and I can see maybe what my lattering's going to be like. Okay. Then I can also see, I can use this head pin to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can see if those 4 seed beads are the same size.
Real close.
Right? And yeah, close enough for me. And then I can see, okay, I can go to 3, and then go to 2, etc., etc. Okay? Now there's another section in this ladder right here. And this is really where I found this technique to be helpful. I wanted, in that bridge picture, it has some like of the circles and stuff next to like that blue. So I literally wanted to kind of try and recreate that pattern. But these tile beads, as you know, have 2 holes. So I just put these little bad boys together right there. And then I knew that I wanted to put a bugle. So I looked at this and I said, well, it doesn't look quite right. So I'm going to, or it's not quite long enough, but if I used these 11/aughts
Angela,
right here.
I don't think the beads get too nervous having to audition.
Oh,
But
yes.
I really like that.
Yes, auditioning the beads.
Yeah. Well, this is sort of making them sure that they fit size-wise, too. It's
Yeah,
more
exactly.
technical even than that. You have to hit those high notes.
Yeah. So see here how these, so I could see, oh yeah, that little section, that all fit together pretty well. Okay? And so then I had, those were the 2 that I really wanted to make sure, because I was adding, you know, they were sections that had definite texture to them and had definite beads that I don't use a lot, right, for laddering. So that's kind of how I did that layout there.
Well, I really like the back and forth of this a little bit. It
Yeah.
feels, again, that
Has that movement,
that
mosaic
mosaic
movement.
feel to it. But it does introduce a little bit of diagonal or a little bit of something that has some difference, and to make sure I look around a little more carefully and to see what's happening.
I think visually, yeah, it adds a lot of visual interest. Then in this piece, in Garden Path that Janice used, the half tila that Janice used here, that's what I wanted to mimic by just, I thought, what does laddering with just tilas look like?
Boy, the half tilers are awfully cute, aren't they?
Aren't they though? They really look good. So you could do a half tila here. You could choose another color and do it that way. But I really wanted to see what just the tila would look like. And I think it looks great. And then that's what, because that was my second section here. Okay. So it just depends on what you like. But this just, I think, really looks beautiful. Then what I did was we jumped in and we added the wheat chain. I'm going to talk to you about laddering wheat chain as well in just a few minutes.
That freaks me out.
And then, no, it's so easy. Then I jumped in and I did another section here of that kind of dot dash. And then, of course, we did some macrame, and I'll share with you how I did this macrame. I took a leaf out of Janice's book here, and instead of alternating the beads going this way, offsetting them, I have them going across from each other. So I'll show you how I did that. And then, of course, we talked about this one that's just like the laddered stacks, and then we did kind of that little meander, and then I finished it up with that skinny section of the hematite cut cubes. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are like, well, how do you measure? How long is this, Kate? So let me give you a little bit of measuring 411, okay? My wrist, you can see it here, and Brandon, you might want to pull the shot out a little bit. I don't know if I'm in there.
Oops.
So my wrist measures, I'll give you about 7 inches finished, okay? So I will What's that?
Just wait for her to pull back a little bit.
Oh, she's got it. That one's delayed.
Okay.
So we're all good. So, so 7 inches. So you can see that my first section is not 7 inches at all, right? I was just going. I put a shadow, and then I just kept going. So as I got further and further along in the project, my measurements started to get wonkier and wonkier, okay? So what I did was, I had to try it on all the time, okay? So what I did was this. So here's my thing, and I just went around, and I started to really try and be mindful about where my transitions started to end up. So let me just show you how this wraps. So you can see, and let me, it's twisting a little bit. Let me untwist. There we go. So you can see that things start to get a little more regular with a single wrap as I got to the macrame. But you know what? This illustrates that it doesn't matter. As long as your final length is the right one.
Well, it's funny because I always think that you guys are doing it so precisely and with such care. What I discovered doing a wrap bracelet with lots of sections in it was that I had to remember that sort of half the section was under my wrist.
Right.
So if I did two things, if I alternated, I would miss it.
Right.
It would be underneath.
Right.
Rather than on top.
And so what I kind of like about this one is, let me see if I can get my bracelet closed here. And would you close this for me? I can't.
You always need a friend.
I can't get myself dressed. Myself jewelry dressed. What I also like about kind of maybe offsetting these is, as you say, the piece, the design also lays underneath your wrist as well, right? So half of it can be on the front and half of it can be on the back, okay?
Well, I like the idea of kind of having that little warm-up section at the very beginning that you just kind of started off with.
Yeah, I just jumped in.
It just got you going.
Yeah, got me going.
Right?
And then I tried to make things, as I wrapped them along, I just tried to make things that looked nice. My thinking, though, for the last wrap of this, I knew that wrap was going to have to kind of wrap way around here. So that's why I went for skinny.
I almost wonder, and I'm going to obviously have to ask the wrap master, Janice, when she's in town next week. Should our lengths, as you're wrapping it, your sections, should they get a little longer each time, considering that they're going to overlap a little?
You know, not really. I think that it's the last one is where at least I do the adjusting for that. So it's this last one that that I made like a little bit bigger. So it really, so for multiple, and I don't, how many wraps is this? 2, 4, 6. This is a 7 wrap, and I could have gone, as Janice says, I could have gone on and on and on, but this this piece, this wrap, things got a little more regular towards the end. You know, this was a little, you know, with this shorter one. But I also like how this shorter section, how, you know, it sits right in your middle of the wrist on the other side.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to undo this so we can look. And this does have a little bit of the buckling, okay? I am going to, can I get this off? Can you get this off? Free me, Emily, from my bracelet.
Help me.
I can't get my hand to work. We always need a friend. There we go. A jewelry friend.
A bead buddy.
A bead buddy. There we go. So when I make these, I am going like a house afire, and you want to make sure that your stitches are super consistent. There's one right here, and I want to point this out. See how this Tyla, I don't know, Brandon, if you can get right into there, but you can see this Tyla.
Ruh-roh.
it's no bueno here. And it's because, see how it's sitting askance? Like this. It's because when I laddered, I went through, I didn't go under and back over here, so the stitching on this one tila is goofy. It's wonky. Now if I wanted to fix that, I could. I could come in, add a piece of thread maybe over here, weave it back through, and then make the correct stitch path here.
Right.
And it would fix this.
Kind of go in and mend it.
Yeah, I would mend it. It would be fine. But that's a way to fix. And then that other one here, you can see also, it's hard to see, but I screwed up on this place as well. I came underneath and I went right into the tila. Can you see that?
Yeah.
I didn't go around the leather, which is making these guys sit up, poke up. So if you do make a wrap bracelet and you have some issues, do a little forensic checking on here and see, oh, you know what? That's why this is wrong. And you can come back in if you want and mend your stitches. I wouldn't take it out, but I would come in, you know, and maybe mend it around.
Right. And with using double thread, you've got to be really careful about splitting your threads.
Exactly.
Because you can't undo sometimes.
And we're using KO for this project. I know we could use Fireline. I have been laddering with Fireline and I love it. Sometimes these beads are a little bit small, but sometimes I also ladder with the micro Ceylon if my beads are a little bit bigger. So just test out and see what works for you. But if you do have that buckling issue, take a look at your stitches, because my guess is that your stitches are off.
Something got missed
Something
somewhere
got
along
missed,
the line.
right.
Okay.
Now, the bugles, let's go to my stitching section, okay? And let's take a look.
Somebody did ask why KO instead of tough cord.
Tough cord would have been too thick for me. And I'm doing infinity stitch here.
Okay.
So anytime, it's a great question, Brandwin, anytime, and we have some skill builders over on our, can I get the thread as well? I'm not sure where the thread went. We have some great skill builders over on beadshop.com that talk about laddering, traditional laddering, with two strands, one strand on one side, one on the other, and we have a great one on infinity stitch, which infinity stitch is my jam, I'll tell you. I love it.
I really like the other laddering.
The two?
Yeah.
For this, since these were so small and doing this bugle, I don't know if traditional laddering, it might give you fits. I think using a needle with this, maybe, but you can certainly try it and see. I also wanted to point out, and Brendan, we may want to pull the shot out just a little bit. I'm not going to do it today on this project, but I did want to show you the board. This is connecting, I'm using the design board here, and I just did this really simply by with some rubber bands. Janice showed me this trick when we were back.
Genius.
It really is. When we were back doing beads, baubles, and jewels, we didn't have enough clips or anything. I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And Janice is all, get me some rubber bands, stat. So we did. And what I did, especially for shorter ladder bracelets like this, or even longer ones, she tied a knot here at the bottom and then just did a little lark's head knot with that rubber band like this. And so that rubber band just goes right around the board. So you can see I've got the button on, and I'll just lift my board and bring that rubber band around, and the rubber band catches, and tightens everything and holds everything nice and even with this rubber band trick. Of course, you can use any of the techniques that we have to connect your project to a board. We have a special video on that as well. So you're all good to go. Sometimes we use clips. I like to use the clampers for that. Sometimes I use binder clips. Just depends on, you know, what works for you. If you watch any of our videos on laddering, there are so many different ways to connect. I also sometimes use the macrame board. Janice and I did a whole Facebook Live on whether or not to use the macrame board versus the deep dish design board. So there's lots of information out about that. So to start with this, and I'm actually going to turn this around. So, whoops, I knew this was going to, I had an old, Emily, I'm going to actually need, oh, this is an old rubber band.
Old and sad rubber band?
Yeah.
I know where the mother load of rubber bands are.
Yeah, you do. So unfortunately, rubber bands don't have that super long of a shelf life.
Especially if they've been sitting on a desk
That's right, for like 6 months. But I'll get a new one there. But you can see here the way I started this with a bit of macrame, okay? And I started with the macrame, and then we jumped in and started the piece. Thank y'all, Emily. So let me actually show you on this one that's down here, because it was this one I've actually knotted in to the piece here. But you can also see if I start with the macrame on this. And again, we do this a lot of different ways on a lot of different projects. But I'll just show you with this macrame here. My little pieces
Oh, I
of
thought this
paper.
was also genius. You know, Kate likes to say necessity is the mother of invention. And I think this is the place where we see a lot of that genius is when we have to go and demonstrate it for someone else. It's kind of amazing.
Just leave it on there. I'm going to put this one on.
Okay. And we have more rubber banded loss.
There we go. So with the, let me get this in order here. With the macrame, I've just jumped in and I've tied the KO. There we go. I've tied the KO just right in this knot. Now the knot you wouldn't have to macrame and knot on both, but I did want to show you on this. Did I get this caught up? I sure did. I'm just going to show you how this macrame works on this, but you wouldn't macrame and knot. Well, you could if you wanted, if you liked that look. But for the macrame, whoops. Come on, rubber band. Rubber band's giving me a little bit of a sass. There we go. Is it in there? There we are. So you can see back here, if I were starting this laddering with just a knot, like I would here, I'd just jump in and I'd start laddering. And can you see how I've knotted the KO just goes around with the leather through this button, comes down, and then I've knotted it right inside here.
Yeah, that's so smart.
And that's just how I'd start this one. I start a lot of my ladder bracelets with just a knot because my ladder bracelets have a tendency to look a little more, I don't know, organic maybe is the word. But I don't, so I like starting it with the knot. Plus, macrame sometimes to me, I'm like, oh my god, it takes up too much time. But I do like how it looks. And so you can see here with the macrame, and you can find this on our website as well, but I've started by just making my little P-shaped loop, and I bring my thread under the leather and through the loop, and there's my P. Now I'm going to bring it over on this side. Actually, sorry you guys, this would be just a series of half hitches. Let me take this out. Can we take that back?
Below you, I think.
We take this back. Second take.
Well, when I was taught how to ladder, I also was taught to just go ahead and knot off here.
I'm going to actually move the camera. Just
Are
see
you?
if I
A little
get
bit?
better
Sure.
Angle over
Sounds
here.
good to me, Brandon.
But I like the idea of the macrame a little
There
bit
we go.
there. Because it was sort of a secure transition. And, you know, thread is always has a place where you have to make a transition.
adding thread to heat thread, you're going to want to glue or not. And macrame is such a nice looking knot for so many things that I often really like macrame. It's, to me, it looks beefy. It takes away some of the thinness of that thread.
Yeah, and
a
I
little
think
bit.
it's a pretty knot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it also, I do think, Emily, it does make it look a little more finished, you know, than maybe just the knot. All right. So now I've done my do-over. Okay, let me actually show. So let's ignore all of this. Let's ignore this knot. But I
really
wanted
see
to
it
show
anyway,
you.
so it was good.
Okay, good. All right. So now we're good. So this is something that Janice showed me about starting your macrame with and going right into infinity stitch. Okay. So I've strung just a piece of KO with my needle, and this length would be whatever length you want to ladder with. I just have a short length here because this is just going to be a demo. So what I do is I come through and I'm going to be doing the looping with the side that has the needle and the tying with the side that doesn't have anything on the end. So watch what I do and you'll see.
Super smart.
Because if I'm doing the actual tying with the length that doesn't have the needle, I never have to pass the needle through the loop. Does that make sense? So let me go back and tell you about this macrame stitch. As we start, we form our little loop. I go over my thread, under the leather. Whoops, I want to do it with this side. Make my loop over the thread. Come on, under the leather and through that loop. Okay? And that loop, try it one more time, redo. Over the thread, under the leather, up through that loop, catching both and tightening down. So when I do the loop is always with the side that has the needle, and the tying part is always with the side that's open. And can you see how I'm establishing my macrame piece here? Okay. So now, once I've got that going, and I want to make as much macrame as I need to clear the shank of the button. So I'm going to put this one back on. Bring this around so you guys can see this one over here. Hopefully this rubber band won't break. There we go. She's got more.
I got a spare
more for
right
me.
here.
My spare rubber band. There we go. So see here, Brandon, am I in the shot?
Yes.
Is this good? So here, what I've done is I've done enough macrame to clear the button loop. All right. And this macrame maybe could have been a little closer up here. I don't know. It's a little bit of a quibble, but maybe it could have. But see, when I start, gosh, this is a little wonky there. When I start here with this bead, and I'll start it over here so you guys can see it, I'll go ahead and put my glue, and we'll start with one size 11/0 bead. Now let me open up our little thing here. And one of the things that Janice does, which I think is real clever, is she puts her little KO in there to
Super smart.
to open that guy up, which is good.
Yep.
So I've got my 11/0 on here. Now, infinity stitch, you guys. It's called infinity because you make an infinity shape with your thread. So watch what I do. I come up over the top, down and underneath the side of, this is the side of my leather. Now, my thread is coming under, so I'm going over the top like a figure 8, right? I go through. Now, it wouldn't be a figure 8 unless I went underneath this piece of leather. Okay? So I've gone over and under and over and under. Now, I could go on to my second row, but if I went on to my second row, this first row wouldn't be as established. All right? So I'm going to go through this bead. I'm just going to repeat the thread path, being very careful not to split my threads. But I'm going to go through that size 11. And now, everybody, what do? I go underneath this side of cord. And I'm always kind of tightening and fixing this first one. Now I just repeat that thread path. Go around, go through our little bead friend, underneath. Now I'm ready for my beads. So I'm going to put on 2. Let's put on 2. So now, see, here's my 2. Now, where does this thread have to go, you guys? Underneath to make my figure 8, my infinity symbol. All right? You're the boss. Tell those beads where to sit. Now I need to come back up, go through both. Sometimes it helps if I go through both, but then I always have to remember to dive underneath that strand. And if you don't do that, dive underneath that strand, sometimes it's a little precarious. You know, you skip that stitch. Now, if I wanted to, for this second one, I could come back and repeat that one, just because this is where this bracelet gets a lot of play, a lot of movement. So I could reinforce that one. But now I'm ready. Are we ready for 3 seed beads, right? So let's put on 3. 1, 2. I've got 2. Come on. I need your volcano of beads here.
It's the best.
2 and then 3. All right? So now, what do? Under. Right? Am I emphasizing it enough?
Are you talking about under?
I am. Under that leather. Now over, back through the 3, being careful not to catch any of those, and now again, under. So now I'm ready for my 4 beads, and it's the ones that are persnickety. So what I'm going to do is, on these 4, I'm going to reinforce them before the bugle comes on. 1, 2, 3, 4 beads. I sit them where they go, pushing that KO up if I need to.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you wax your thread normally?
I do.
Okay. So Angela was saying that her threads separate quite a bit.
I wax.
You wax.
I do.
would wax too, Angela.
I do a little bit of beeswax just to make sure. Sometimes I do it after I thread my needle, sometimes before, but it'll help these 2 strands sit nicely together. So now I'm going to reinforce this because this is that wobbly 4th row. So when in doubt, let's reinforce. Get it in there. We also need what Janice would say. She would say we need enough air in between these beads. So we want to double check before we go too far. Sorry, it's a little bit out of my vision range here. Here we go. We don't want to go too far without double checking that this little triangle is sitting nicely, right? So there we go. I've come in. So now I'm going to reinforce that one again, come through. And I think that might be
Does this feel to
A
you a little
gigantic
bit
help.
like you're looming?
It feels exactly like I'm looming. Yes.
So
Very
looming,
astute. Em.
no warp threads, but your outside warp threads are the only ones you're working with. So it is a little bit like looming.
It is. And, you know, let me tell you something that I'm discovering and looking at here. It might be, I'm going to try this bugle on here, but you know what? It might be that this, because see how when I splay this thread out, see how when I do that,
Might be that
and
4
I
is
put,
too many.
Yeah, I think 4 is too many. See that? So, what do I do? What do I do?
I know what you do.
What are you going to tell? I know what I'm going to do too, but what would you do?
I think, if it were me, I would make another row of 3 here, and then a row of 2,
Oh.
and then a row of 1 to make a little diamond, and then go back again.
Oh.
1, 2, 3. Then I'd start my bugles.
You could. I was going to cut it off.
Well, why do that?
I don't know. I was going to eliminate. I was going to vote one of these guys off the island.
Oh, you can't. You've already gone through it 2 times. You'll never
Yeah,
get that
all
thread
right. You're
done.
right. Emily's right. Let me just go back down to 3.
Do I have to take my glasses off?
Yeah. I was thinking about just cutting one off. If Emily wasn't here. See, Tilly, that's what she says. Tilly. I'm the same. Whoops, I didn't go under. I would. What's that?
Angela says that it'll give you a try. It reminds me I have to make an appointment to wax my lip.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right, so see, I'm going to go under, and I'm going to go under here.
Thank you, Angela, for the good laugh for the day. We needed that.
And I'm going to go back underneath here.
See, when you make a mistake, you just make it a design feature.
That's right.
Right?
There we go. It's still a little buckly. But I'm not going to go back because time does not permit.
Right. So
But-
Suzanne says she likes to go through her first few rows a couple times.
Yeah, I
So-
agree with you, Suzanne. I would.
Can I try one more thing before you go to the next row?
Sure, because I need to. We need to move on though.
Okay. I was gonna.
So
I just had.
what?
I had one thought just before you do this. I think you're pulling it too tight. I think we'll see less buckling if it's not. It needs a little air.
In those, do you think?
I do. I mean, so
Yeah.
there's a little
Yeah,
less
it
buckling.
can be. Yeah, I just think I'll
Knock
be
it off,
honest.
Kate.
I just think, yeah. See how those 3 though they're sitting really perfectly
Look,
next to that.
You got 3 votes
I know,
for breaking
right?
it.
I'm ready to do it, but see, it's that
Yes.
3 that is correct.
Yes, I
think.
like that.
So ignore that I did 4, but it's all good.
Manny, I'm not sure we can back up the truck when she's gone through it 2 times.
Yeah.
So,
We're just going to go for it. So then, with laddering for the laddering for this guy, you'll just come in and go through here and just ladder as if. Now, in my original pattern, I do have 4 in between, so maybe I'd start with the 3, and then maybe once this is a nice established row, I'd keep it going with the 4. Let's see how 4 looks. But again, it's all about experimenting. I just love how bugles look together like this laddered. So let me put on 4.
we've had a bit of a bugle run, haven't we, recently?
Yeah, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's take a look. And let's go underneath and let's see how these 4 sit. Yeah, they sit okay. So I think I could get away with the 4 all lined up here. There we go. And under. Now I'm also getting dangerously close to not having enough thread here. Again, since this is just a sample, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm just going to cut this off later. But you would definitely, if you had just this much thread left over, this would be an emergency moment here. You would have to, I would have changed this out long ago.
Yeah, the minute I have to lean down to get the bead, then I have to change.
So yeah, so you can see that's looking together pretty nicely, sitting together pretty nicely. Now we need to get through the macrame and the wheat chain. So I'm going to go to wheat chain right here, and I want to show you how I started that wheat chain. Now the wheat chain, you pretty much just lay it in between your two pieces of leather. And I've got my wheat chain sitting here somewhere. Where's my piece of wheat chain? Is it over there? Where did that chain go? Oh, it's on the picture. It's in the palette. So with wheat chain, can you see how there's a little starting link here? And you want to clip your chain until you isolate that one little link right there. Okay? Now that one little link, let's just pretend that this is down here. That one little link starts right at the top, and you just come through and you ladder through that first link a couple of times, because you really want to establish that chain in there nice and firm so it doesn't move. Okay? Now if we turn this wheat chain kind of to the side, it's kind of hard to see, but let me get a needle so you guys can see this. Where you're aiming so that your wheat chain doesn't buckle, as you go back and forth, see how that wheat chain makes a little, like a letter Y? You can see like there's a little Y, there's the side of the Y, and then, you know, the tail of the Y is here, and then the Y comes here. You're going through that portion of the Y. You're not going through this link here, but it's kind of where these kind of X across. That's what you're laddering through.
So you're making sure to catch both links evenly.
Yeah. And what happens if you don't catch both links, your wheat chain, I'll turn this around on the back. This is the one that Janice did, and she caught one link. So your wheat chain sits up on the top like this.
Kind of a cool look,
which
too.
is a great look, but if you really do want it to sit in between, you got to catch both of those links. So let me show you.
We could do this with a simpler link too.
Oh,
simpler chain.
For sure. But wheat chain looks, I think, looks so great. So Brandon, let's see if we can really get up tight on this so people can see. I'm going to go back through and then I'll start this one from the beginning. So again, I'm infinity stitching, right, going from underneath. So now let's look at the link that I'm going to go through. If I have this all laid out here, my stitch has gone through here and back through. I'm going to drop my thread down. Can you see that little Y? That Y is here and here. Great. My thread is going to go right underneath that Y. So I'm going to grab my needle and I'm going to go through that chain link and that chain link. Then I'm going to come all the way through. What do I have to do, gang?
Under.
Go under. So go under the side of that guy. And then I follow that thread path through, back, through the Y. There it is. Now I go under the side of the chain. Now I do it all over again.
Moving again, people. Sorry, I just want to make sure I get a good angle where people can really see what you're doing.
So here's that Y.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'll work.
Send the needle through underneath the Y. Under the leather. Follow that path back through under the Y and under the leather.
You know what I like about this is if you're holding it kind of with some tension, a little bit of tension once you've got it secured, that it looks sort of like the natural place to go through from side to side. The top and the bottom look more like the chain is solid. And if you look at this with that in mind, you know you have to just go straight across. And I can see how it'd be easy to get only one, but I think
if I were just doing one, like this one,
that's
see
only
how this
one.
link, that's only one. But if I go down through and I aim kind of for under, see how there I'm grabbing the two.
I'm so glad we're doing this, and I don't have to do this at the same time as you because I don't know this one, and I wanna learn it.
The laddering of the wheat chain, what you could also do, which I think would look super killer, is you could add a bead like on the outside going through, or you could add a bead before you go through the chain. Something I've wanted to experiment with and I haven't yet. But I think it would look so good. And this wheat chain is super solid, so it would be a good one to experiment with. You know, so even if I had a little, I don't know, if I had this 11/0.
See how hard it is not to go off the reservation?
It
Kate's
is
gone
so
right off the
true.
reservation.
It's true. I go through, and then it's always good to experiment. That's what these are for, right? I'd put this on, and it might all end in tears. It might be the wrong thing, but
So when you get a moment, will you flip that over so we can see the back side too?
I can. There we go. And those little 11/0 kind of sit kind of interestingly right up next to that chain. But if I wanted to take them out, this was something we learned from one of our viewers. If we go back through, we go back through with the eye of the needle, like that, so things don't get tangled up. And we go through here, back through with the eye of the needle, and then I'll turn this around. But if you have to back something out, because like with this chain, there's no taking the needle off, right, because it's doubled, you just, whoops, you just pull so that your thread, well, that's kind of a mess right there. There we go. So that your eye of the needle is what's leaning back through. There we go.
Yes, take it out eye first.
Eye first. That makes a big, big, big difference so things don't tangle. So you want to see the back of this, Em?
Sure.
Was that a question?
Yep, that was
And
definitely a question.
the back and the front pretty much look exactly the same. Though, can you see right here? I made a little bit of a misstep.
Oh, it looks like you missed a link.
I did. I missed a full link right here. So it's really easy, but this is actually looking pretty nice and even. And this wheat chain, it sits more nicely than you think it might. So it looks really good. Okay. So hopefully that's fairly clear with the wheat. The last thing, you have the board over there, Em.
Oh, yes, I do.
I'm going to trade you.
All right.
Because this is something that I also wanted to share with you guys. This section I don't know about you, but before I came to beadshop.com, I didn't do a lot of macrame.
I did.
Well, all right. Well, Emily did. Me, not so much. And the thing that really attracted me straight off the bat is Janice's Born Yesterday project, which was chock full of macrame. Okay? And so I wanted this piece to have some prominent macrame. And what Janice did on hers, I don't know if you can see this brand, if this is in view here. Janice used, I think she used micro Ceylon for her piece here. This one that's on this is actually fine Ceylon. And what I have here on the project, what I have listed in the project, is actually regular. Because I really wanted the Ceylon to kind of take center stage with this. And when I made this sample, I only had the fine Ceylon.
I love how this looks.
I love the way the micro looks, right? So what Janice did was she had her seed beads come straight across, so they're not offset like the Bollywood is. If you look at our Bollywood project, the beads along the outside are offset. Okay? But this, they're straight across from one another. And so what we did here, and I'll show you, we used a big eye needle, and it's a little, I'm going to show you how this is. It's a little persnickety. I think you've got the big eye needle. We left it out, but where it ended up, Em, is it over there? The big eye?
Oh dear.
I had one. Is it on? Of course, we're all prepared before the
It's a headband.
broadcast starts.
If you,
But I bet we have one here somewhere. Those were up.
there they are.
There they are. Big eye needles are so good. They have exactly what they say they do. A big eye, just like this. And that big eye, your Ceylon, just goes right through. And it allows me to get these 11/aughts right onto the thread. Now, my hands are a little lotiony, so I can't quite get them on. But you got them on okay earlier, Em,
Oh,
didn't
you might be up against a knot there, no? On
No,
the
I
thread?
took the knot
No?
out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't have any trouble.
Huh.
I don't know if it was that big eye or not.
Let me just double check and make sure. This big eye, yeah, my hands don't want to pull this on.
A big eye or a flexible eye?
Flexible eye needle.
Will work.
Let me actually trade that out.
Okay.
We have on the list, we have, if you're using the smaller threads, the micro, I think maybe this regular Ceylon might be a little heavy. There we go. That's coming on there just fine like that. Okay. So, there we go. So now I'm ready. I've strung both sides. And you can see I've just tied little knots right here at the end so the beads don't come off. Okay?
That also is a very smart trick.
It was a good trick, I think.
Yes.
And now I'm going to cut these down a little bit because they're a little long for macrame. For me. There we go. So now we're just going to slide. You know how in Bollywood, when you do the Bollywood project, you slide one bead up and do your knot? All we do with this is we slide
Two.
two. So one there and one there. Okay. So just as normal, make my loop there. These I want closed. Make my loop underneath the leather and up and tighten. Let me turn this over, Brandywin, so it might be a little bit easier for people to see if we're going from the back. There we go. And so now I'll make a plain knot. Give myself a little bit of space there. And do the pattern that makes you happy. So I'm going to tie 2 knots, and then I'm going to bring 2 beads, not 2, but 1 up per side. And it just depends on how tightly or loosely you make your knots. And if you check out our Bollywood project, there is a lot
Thank you, Gita.
There's a lot of instruction on how to tie this macrame. There we go. The thing about the macrame is that you want your tension to be fairly even, and as these beads are sitting here, you're going to have some space. So see, when I tie this, these 2 beads really expose some of the leather.
I really
Which
like
to me,
that.
I do too. I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
So see that there? How that leather is kind of showing.
Mm-hmm.
But that, to me, is just fine. And I love the way these 2 beads sitting across from each other look. And you can see it's the regular Ceylon that we have in the project. What we have listed in the project is the 1.5 millimeter leather here and the regular Ceylon here. In the sample that I did a while back, we had the 1 millimeter leather and we had the fine Ceylon. And then for contrast here with Janice used the 1 millimeter leather, whoops, there it is, and the micro Ceylon.
That micro looks so great there.
It really does. And see, she used, it's that finer leather, which I think looks really nice with this too. And I think that this is something that you can decide what works for you, especially if if this piece is going to have a little more, I don't know, a little more wear, maybe going up a little bit would be good. Janice also used in hers, and I wanted to show you this. She did that same laddering with 3 millimeter fire polish.
So pretty.
And you could use True Twos with this too, the 2 millimeter.
I do really like seeing that little bit of leather popping out. It brings back another color to the mix.
Into the piece.
Yeah.
And again, you can make as many beads across, or as many knots in between your beads as you'd like. And I think I started by stringing on maybe 20 beads, I think, is what I did. But just string on enough until you're stoked with how much it, how good it looks. There we go. Tie this. You could macrame like this. You could macrame all day long. I think it really is a great section. There we go. So that's it. That's starting to establish this pattern. Okay. So let's take a look at the sample one more time before we call it a day. Anything else, Em, that I need to go over?
I'm just going to respond to Kate. Hold on. I went Bjorn Shove. Can you use some glue on the tip of the Ceylon instead of a needle?
Yes, by all means.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Kate uses a very cute trick where she uses a small Ziploc bag to wipe the glue onto the end of the thread to make a self needle.
If I were doing that, you could use the hypo cement, and it would be a great way to kind of get past, getting a needle, trying to figure out what your needle choice would be for this project. So let's pull that out of the way. And so if this is my hypo cement, I get my hypo cement on my baggie. I close this up. Then I would, with my seal-on, I'd get it right into my baggie and really just get it in there. Saturate that sucker so it's really good. Then I would use the baggie as the little squeegee to pull this away. Okay. And you can find the other colorway that we did. It's up on the blog. It's, if you go right to the bead table blog, I think we linked it, but Emily, I don't know if you can link that again.
Yep, I can.
But it's right there on the blog, so we listed that for you. It's a fun colorway, I think.
I can get it back again.
And then, yeah, Donna, what you say is cut the seal-on at an angle as it dries. It's a great tip. I don't always follow that that tip, but it's a good one. It's a good one to do. Okay. And Angela, you were saying you were using Chinese knotting cord right now. The needle, the collapsible eye might work rather than the big eye, but you could also do this little trick with gluing your end, especially if you're using the 0.04. You may have to pop up these beads to from a size 11 to a size 8. You know, if you're making everything a little bit larger, just pop up the size of those for your macrame. But that looks great. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. All right, Bran. Oh, I wanted to, before we move this, I know we're going a little bit long, but I just wanted to go over this palette one last time so you guys saw the bugles and the 11-aughts. The Tylas, and the Tylas, you've seen us ladder with these Tylas before. The thing about those Tylas is we want to make sure that we treat this bead as if it's 2 beads and go through that top hole, complete the pass, and then go down through the bottom hole and complete that pass. I use the shadows, the big shadows, as the transition here from one section to another. But again, that could be anything. It could be, you could silk wrap, you could use any bead that's...
There's some really great, in the ancient finds category.
Vintage finds, vintage finds.
That would be really
that
awesome.
That would look really good. Yep, I agree. Then, of course, we're laddering with this chain, which looks great. I think it looks awesome. And then I just went back and I repeated that that laddering. And you can see with the 4 beads and the bugles, some of the bugles, they're all about the same size, but you do want to check, like you say, Emily, in Seed Bead School, double check to make sure that the end of this bugle isn't cracked or broken.
Look at every bead before you put it on.
So they look good. And then here, here we've got this macrame, and I used the fine, but you could also use, as we listed, the regular seal-on. And then we went into the laddered stacks. That's where laddered stacks came from, just this bracelet. And we used that hematite cube in the middle. Now, we could make this wider. Doesn't have to be just 3 beads.
You know, it'd be fun making it 5 across.
Yeah, it would
so
look great 5 across.
Little more of a mosaic-y appearance again. I'm kind of stuck on the mosaic thing all of a sudden.
I think it would look great.
You know?
And then we use the Tyla. We use that little trick of putting our beads, our Tyla bead here on the head pins, like so. So we could see that measurement and just started to create our pattern. Then I thought that, you know, I flipped that pattern back and forth like this. And then I ended up with that hematite cut cube, and I made it a nice slim section so it'd be easy to wrap around your wrist.
Right, not so much bulk.
Yeah.
More flexible.
And then I ended, of course, with
little macrame?
Little macrame, though you could also end with a knot.
And this is the same, you're still using the KO thread here. It's
I
the
did,
macrame
I
end,
did, I did.
And then a knot. Yep.
I did.
And you could use 2 for
Yeah.
adjustability.
Now, one of the things, I know that we're almost done, but this was a trick that Janice shared with me, and I think it's super important to share this ending KO. Would you hand that back to me, Em?
You want to do it on this guy?
I want to do it on, you know, we could, no, hand me one of those that has the needle on it already. All right. let's say that this one, that we're just going to come in and I've tapered and we're going to macrame.
Right.
Actually, let me do it with this one because this is a nice long piece of thread here. You guys, this is going to blow your mind. Now, when I was finishing this off before, when we finish off with macrame with KO, okay, what we would do is we'd cut this needle off and we'd just macrame with these two pieces of thread, right? And so it would make it super skinny.
Right.
And kind of sad.
Little
Yeah.
scrawny.
So we're going to pretend that I wove that back through and that this is down here. So just go with me on this. We're going to just bring, because again, this is going to be all cut away later. There we go. So let's say that I've just finished laddering, and this is my real laddered piece here. And I've come in and I've made my two, I've got a couple little beads right here, and we've made it a really nice taper. Now then, Emily, that KO, would you cut me another length of thread, please? Long enough to double. So, I don't know, about 2 feet maybe, 18 inches about. So before we end, you guys, what we do,
trick.
It's such a good trick. Before we end, we're going to reinforce this last row. So we go through once, and we go through twice, so it's nice and stable. And now we're ready to macrame. This side with the needle, I don't cut it off. I bring my second little length of KO around, and I'm just going to use, did you see that? How I just looped that in there?
This was genius.
Now I'm going to macrame. I'm just going to come in.
it
This
gives
is the
you
one that I added.
two threads.
2 threads that are the
macrame.
same
Thickness.
and so it matches the top of what, you know, when you started we were macrameing with two lengths, right? Sorry, now this is a muddle. So let me get that up there tight. Tighten that down. There we go. And of course yours will look a lot better because you'll be in real jewelry time, not demo time. But can you see how, since I'm macrameing with 2 pieces of KO, my ending macrame is nice and not too skinny. There we go. And you could start...
It makes all your other macrame jealous because this is so slick.
And what I would do, like I did for this piece, you know, you could just taper it and bring it in nice and tight, or you could put like a shadow bead or something there and then pull all of those threads through. Okay, but does that make sense? I didn't want to confuse you guys, but I did want to share this little Janice generated tip because I think it's a good one. Look at how nice and clean that macrame looks. Like so. Okay, and then just go until it's done. Glue that sucker down with some hypo cement. I like to let that hypo sit overnight before I cut the tails off. And that's all she wrote. That's it.
It's perfect.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring this broadcast to a close.
And we did, of course, get the obligatory tell us about your jewelry questions, which I said I would be sure to ask before the end of the broadcast.
We can do that.
So
let's do a quick jewelry bit as we're
Roundup.
closing
Take mine off.
closing the show.
So I did make a note to remember to ask.
All right.
I promised.
All right. Well, we've got this. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Woo! What? color study is always epic.
It is epic. I mean, that's a lot to cover.
It's a lot to cover. But I really wanted to share we've done color study before, but I did want to share a little bit of the design process with you because I thought it would be fun, if you have your favorite photo or whatever to palette from. So I think it'll be fun. Do you need help with that?
Apparently so.
Yeah, here. You had to help me with mine. With my bracelet, let me help you with that.
Why couldn't I find that clasp?
So this is, why can't I get my hands to work? There we go.
That's why.
So this is a piece, Emily, that you're wearing that you made. It's some wire work.
Yeah, it's a bunch of different wire work techniques, all kind of comboed together.
You want to hold it up a little bit? Sure. And so, just some great wire, 24 gauge, 22 gauge, looks like that you've got
26
going on.
gauge.
26 gauge, a lot of fun things.
Some briolets, some wire wrapping. Some great chalcedony, which is slowly fading color. And we'll go ahead and link that in the episode notes for you guys to look. And then this is a piece from a class that I teach. It has some beads that are made out of old coins. There's that used to be a quarter, I think, in the middle there. I love the clasp that you made on there, too. I made a really giant clasp on the end. So it's kind of a fun one. This was a piece that I made when I did I was like designer of the month or whatever for Dakota Stones I don't know. You and I see peeking out of there too.
What's that?
Shadows.
Shadows, yeah. What a surprise. What a surprise. But it's fun kind of a mixed metals, kind of a cool piece. So it was a good time. So that's what we're learning. So, of course, to bring this to a close, we've got a couple of cool things for you today. So, I thought about the giveaway. And I thought, a lot of you have been asking about my buttons. They want the buttons. They want the buttons. I want your buttons. I want your buttons. I've given you some of those buttons. You already have some of those. I only have one. Well, only one? Oh, we'll have to fix that. So I thought it'd be fun for today's giveaway to do a little drawing. So I have 3. You can hold these up, Em, if you want. I would be happy to. 3 of my handmade buttons. And we're going to do a drawing for everyone who places an order between now, and it's a little after 1, it's about 1:20, so we're going to make this go for an hour. We'll make it go till about 1:15. It's about 12:20 now, sorry, Pacific time. So we'll let it go till about 1:20 Pacific time. Everybody who places an order between now and that time today on the 17th of January, first month's half over. You can go ahead, put in Kate's button, and I will choose randomly a winner, 3 winners, in fact, out of everyone who places an order, and I will choose one of the 3 buttons. The buttons, one's from Greece, which is cool, has a ship on it. One is an old wheat penny from a U.S. wheat penny, and one is also England. It's the farthing, I think, the little bird farthing, which is cute. And what's the year on that one? That one's 1943. 1943. 1976 and 1934. 1934. So, nice I like years. Using old coins. Yeah. So, we'll randomly choose 3, and then we'll let you guys know. I'll also put it on the Facebook page. Yeah. So and then you'll have to show us what you made. And we'll do that drawing probably tomorrow. So you guys will know. Okay. We also have a show-only discount today. We thought we'd throw down a Deco 20. So from today is, as I said, the 17th of, not February, it's 17th of January, 2018. And if you place your order and add Deco 20 in the coupon box, we will go ahead and knock 20% off your order. So it's a great time to get all of the things that you want for these deco wraps. It's going to be super fun. Leather. Stock it up. Yeah, it'll be good. And again, if you go right over to the blog, you'll see that alternate colorway that Emily and I threw together for you this morning. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Good fun today. I'm doing good. It was really fun. Yeah. Projects like this always go epically long. So well, and I have not done this project yet myself, and so now I'm feeling way more comfortable. Oh, good. Especially with I was worried about the chain a lot. Don't worry about the chain. I have a little anxiety about the chain. Yeah. Don't be chain anxious. It's all good. But I feel better about it now. Oh, good. Good. Well, next week, you guys, guess who's back in the house? Janice is here, and we have a great, you've seen, some of you who are in our Facebook group, our bead table, the bead shop community, the bead table. You have seen a little sneak peek of that, but she's doing a really cool project. She's going to talk, it's going to be also really design heavy next week, and she's going to impart a lot of her design savvy to you guys. So that'll be next week. Janice will be back.
I know. It'll be exciting. It'll be fun.
And then we have a lot of cool stuff planned for you for the end of the month. Then the following week, I'll be gone. I'll be in Tucson.
Right, and you'll be Emily, with me.
I will be with you. Just with Emily on Wednesday. You're going to do some wire stuff, which is going to be killer.
I have just heard so many comments on both on the Facebook and during these broadcasts just about insecurity about wire.
Yeah.
And I love wire, and I love reminding everybody about how to use it.
Yeah,
and
so there's going to be a lot of good basics.
Yes,
on
absolutely.
that wire broadcast.
And a little bit more always, because I can't help it.
Then that following Thursday, you'll be coming to Tucson, and Emily, so it's like, that
so
Live
Wednesday
Aid,
after
after
do
you teach
here, I got to go to the airport.
She's getting on a plane. Meeting me in Tucson. So it's at Live Aid. Remember when Phil Collins was in London, and then he was like in New York or something, right? You're gonna be the Phil Collins of beads next week. She'll be here one day and in Tucson with me the next.
I know it's gonna be hectic but fun.
Yeah,
and then we're gonna have a celebrity party for 2 nights, and then I turn around and come home, and you turn around and come home.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a fun time. Some live broadcasts in Tucson, and we'll have a little more information on that in our newsletters. All right. Well, and we've got to bring this broadcast to a close. It's been crazy. We could talk to you all day, but we won't. All right. It's Kate Richburg.
Emily Miller.
From beadshop.com.
Checking out. See you guys.
I'll see you on Friday for free tip.
Bye.
Friday. Bye.